You are listening to Mariam Mukunda live on Salam Media. And we'll be standing in front.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Mara Mukunda show on Salam Media. It is 12:29 and this is the Tuesday edition. Thank you for joining me and thank you for choosing Salam Media as your media broadcast of choice. During the lockdown, a lot has happened, hey? A lot of people have quit smoking, people have started new, healthier habits, I hope. Because even though some people may have quit smoking, others have found other unhealthy habits to do, like couch surfing, watching TV and getting up to date with the latest series and snacking and forgetting about gym because gyms are closed, right? No, you shouldn't be doing that. You're supposed to still be getting your workouts on even at home when the gyms are closed. Yeah, like I said, a lot has happened during the lockdown. People have quit smoking. um, I don't know about the drinking, but perhaps some people have quit drinking. Some people have quit gambling, maybe. But yeah, the lockdown has helped people quit some of their bad habits and change also those bad habits into good and better habits. So, what has the lockdown done for you? Okay, so I'm going to be chatting to Peter Yuko, who is the CEO of Tobacco, Alcohol, and Gambling Advisory Advocacy and Action Group, or I'm going to say TAG in this instant. A good day, Peter. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Mariam. Yes, the registered name is a mouthful, but TAG is good, tobacco, alcohol, and gambling. It's what we do.
All right, awesome. So, research has suggested that between 16% and 50% of smokers have stopped smoking during the lockdown. Are these numbers correct and something that we can rejoice about?
Yes, I think there is reason to rejoice. And the numbers are correct according to research done at the University of Cape Town. They have a unit there called REAP, and it's research on the economics of excisable products. Tobacco and
Mhm.
alcohol are excisable products. The unit is headed up by my friend, Professor Corne van Walbeek. And I trust his research and I trust his unit and his team from the University of Cape Town and REAP. They did research about the middle of May, I think it was, and it showed
Mm.
that if you distill all the results, that about 16% of smokers have actually quit. Now, that's good news. It means that we now have approximately 1 million new non smokers. I think that's wonderful.
That is indeed wonderful. So, how has the ban on cigarettes helped smokers and alcoholics and gambling addicts?
Well, the three are linked. You know, heavy smokers are very often heavy drinkers and vice versa, and heavy gamblers tend to be heavy drinkers and smokers. There is a link. That doesn't mean all gamblers drink and smoke, but there are very clear links between them, and it's very simple. All three are risky behaviors and all three are addictive behaviors. So there are links. If you're addicted to one substance like nicotine, you quite possibly are addicted to others like alcohol and to behavior addictions like gambling. The good
Mhm.
news for smokers is that they at least, and I know there's been resistance to this ban on smoking, and we're not going to discuss whether it's right or wrong of the government to have done that. The fact is that there is this ban. And there have been
Mhm.
some shortcomings. There's been a lot of criticism. There have been a lot of problems with it. But I'd like to look at the benefits. And the benefits are those 1 million new non smokers. Even if it is under a little bit duress, smokers were presented with an opportunity to, at the very least, consider quitting smoking. And about a million have
Mhm.
taken that step. I'm delighted. I think it's wonderful that they've done that. Now, look at the long term benefits. We know that smoking kills. It causes disease,
Yes.
disability, and death. and at a very high rate. Those diseases and those disabilities have to be treated either by public hospitals, for which you and I pay out of our tax money, or through medical aid systems. And if you're a member of a medical aid, your contributions, your premiums are likely to be higher because of the costs that have to be paid out to treating the disabilities, diseases, and death caused by tobacco use and by alcohol use. In the long term, we're going to save multiple billions of rand on public healthcare costs, money which can be well used in other areas, such as, for example, this COVID-19 pandemic. Long-term, lots of benefits. If you take, for example, cancer of the larynx, just think about the implications of that. You get cancer of the larynx, and I'm not sure what an operation costs these days to cut out the voice box. Have a guess, maybe 150,000 rand, maybe much more than that. But that's just an original cost for which the government, you and I, have to pay to get some people treated. Now, the long-term costs are they have to have valves and things to replace the pipe where the voice box was, because they now breathe through a little opening here, but you can't talk. Now, Miriam, imagine this. Imagine you've had cancer of the larynx. Imagine you have no voice box, so you can't speak. So now I'm going to ask you a question. Hello, what's your name? Exactly, you see, you can't answer because you got no voice box. It's like, if you're at dinner with friends at your home after this pandemic is over, we're going to have friends and we're going to have meals together with family. And you might be sitting at the end of the table and you want someone to pass you the salt. So what are you going to say? There's nothing you can say because your voice box is gone. So those people now have to go through extensive therapy of, first of all, the psychological aspects of no longer being able to talk and communicate. They can hear. Imagine you're sitting in a conversation and somebody says something. Let's say you're an expert in making fruit juice or baking. And somebody, the conversation around the table is talking about that. Now you're an expert and you hear it and you want to contribute and you can't. That is so frustrating. So they have to deal with the psychological aspects of the loss of your voice. It's huge. It's a massive problem. And after that, the ability to teach yourself to speak again. And people have been able to do that. One of the mechanisms they use is that you swallow air, and you can learn to do that. So you swallow air into your stomach, and then you burp it up. And so you speak or you form sounds as the air comes up. So you might say, hello, my name is Peter. And you can speak like that. And you can communicate, but with great difficulty and massive frustration. You can also buy equipment. You sometimes get, and I've got nothing with me here, but okay, here's my hand sanitizer. So you might get a little device, which is about this size, and it vibrates. So you switch it on, and it goes bzzz. You put it against your throat. And so as it's vibrating, you form that by changing the throat into words. So it goes, then you start to speak with it. Again, also hugely frustrating. And there are costs to all of these things. So long term, we could save all that money on 1 million new non-smokers. I hope the figure doubles.
I hope so too. Now, just quickly remind us again who conducted the research.
That was Professor Corne van Walbeek's unit at the University of Cape Town. It's called REAP, Research on the Economics of Excisable Products. Tobacco and alcohol are excisable products. And when they talk about the economics of those products, it's, for example, the things that we've just discussed. There's a lot of talk, for example, about how much excise has been lost because of the illicit trade in tobacco products because of the ban. And it's true. There has been a lot of loss on excise duty through the sale of tobacco products, not through legal means and through regular outlets and stores and supermarkets, but through illegal traders. So that excise is lost. But consider that the money's not lost. So if people are not spending that money on cigarettes, they're quite likely to be spending it on other things. They might be
Yes.
buying, for example, a new scarf.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to make that scarf. Somebody has to sell it. So there's VAT on that. And there's excise duty on lots of products, educational materials. People will be buying now not only books that you can carry in your hand, but electronic books for education that's going to take place and is taking place through visual media, such as our communication right now. It's going to be spent on food. So the money is not lost to the system, but the tax and the excise is shifted to other products. So talking about this massive loss of excise duty, it's true, it's lost on cigarettes, but it's created somewhere else. And then later on, we also save on the money that we would be paying in public healthcare costs. Not just paying, wasted really, because it's easily preventable. And the way to prevent it is just by stopping smoking.
Now, what about with some people? I mean, the smoking, them quitting smoking was not something that they would willingly want to do. So, is it easily for them to relapse, especially now when the smoking ban will be lifted? Will it be easy for them to relapse and fall into their old habits?
Oh, yes. Remember that nicotine is a hugely addictive drug. And there will be relapse of those million smokers, and there are figures in research that will indicate what the relapse rate is. And yes, some of them will relapse. But remember, when people relapse, they can always decide to quit again. And when you quit again, people are likely, on average, to relapse 2 or 3 times before they quit and finally stay quit. So relapsing is not good, but it's also not bad because it brings you a step closer to being a permanent non-smoker. So we look forward, of course, we expect that there will be relapses, but we look forward to those people saying, you know what, while I was a non-smoker during the lockdown, my food tasted better. I could smell my mother baking in the kitchen. Because your sense of smell comes back. So there's all those advantages. And hopefully they'll say, I don't have that anymore. I can't smell the oven in the roast in the oven. I can't smell the bed breaking. I can't smell the flowers and the roses and the cut grass, which I could when I was a non-smoker. And then they decide to quit again, and they are more likely to be permanent non-smokers. So those are the advantages.
All right, that sounds like an awesome advantage to have. But I'd like to know about what they call it, vapes and hookah pipes. You know, I know because that is a trend amongst the youth. I mean, they love it. It looks like fun, like a fun thing to do. I mean, there's different flavors to enjoy. But what about those? Are they as equally dangerous as nicotine, or are they more harmful?
Well, let's look at them separately. Let's start with the hookah pipes, the hubbly bubblies, water pipes, whatever you call them. Some children are deluded into believing, for example, that the water filters out some dangerous chemicals and so on. It, of course, cools the smoke a little bit, but it does not filter out everything. It does not filter out what scientists call particulate matter. And particulate matter are the solid little pieces. Think of a grain of sand or a grain of salt, but tiny, very, very tiny in the tobacco smoke. It is not filtered out. Particulate matter gets through the water, up the pipe, and into your lungs. So that's bad. The gases and the poisons that are in tobacco smoke also get through the water, through the pipe, and into your mouth. So smoking hookah is very dangerous. They say that an hour of smoking hookah is equivalent of smoking 200 cigarettes. Now consider this, when you smoke a hookah, you know, smoking a cigarette, and I'm going to take a pen, say, to demonstrate. You might smoke a cigarette, people go, they take another puff. Now, with a hookah pipe, What happens is they don't do that with a hookah pipe. They put that thing in their mouth and they go, huge, long suck deep into their lungs. So it does much more harm. And then when they breathe it out, they're huge, dense clouds of smoke that come out, and they don't disappear. They hang around. So now while you're sitting talking to your friends, you're not taking a puff on this thing, but you are breathing. You don't stop breathing. So while you're breathing, you're inhaling your own secondhand smoke and the secondhand smoke of your friends. So if you sit for an hour, you suck occasionally deep into your lungs, exhale, the room is filled with smoke, and every breath you take, you're inhaling smoke and toxins and poisons and nicotine. It's hugely, hugely dangerous. There's another problem, and that is that your saliva gets onto the end of that mouthpiece and you pass it to your friends, and your friends suck on it, and you don't know who might have COVID-19. You don't know who might have herpes, and you can get herpes. You don't know who might have something like meningitis, and there's all sorts of things that can happen. So it's hugely, hugely dangerous. And don't be deluded that the water acts as a filter. It doesn't. Hubbly Bubbly contains nicotine, the tobacco that you put in, and that's one of the dangers, is that they flavor it. You know, molasses, strawberry, menthol. Menthol is particularly bad because it opens up the lungs. So the smoke and the toxins, the particulate matter, all the little pieces of rubbish that are in there, your lungs open up, and those things go then much more deeply into the lungs and can do much more harm. And imagine that you have emphysema and you can't breathe as a result. It's like sucking through a solid piece of tube. You can't get air into your lungs, and it's painful. So you want to avoid that. Now, all those flavors in the hookah pipes, what's happened? They've converted them now into flavors in vaping. And let me start, Mariam, by saying that I don't like the name vaping, because vaping is an industry term because it sounds nice. When I ask you what is vapor, you most likely to say to me water vapor. That's what we think, mostly, water vapor. And water vapor is, in essence, quite harmless. But it's not water vapor. It's what the scientists and the experts are now calling aerosol, because you suck in, first of all, nicotine, which is dissolved in chemicals, and then they add flavors. And all that stuff gets into your lungs, and what you blow out now, and they add more chemicals now to make it thicker and denser. I don't know if you remember, the original, what they called electronic cigarettes, was a little white thing about the size of a cigarette, the length of a cigarette, the color of a cigarette. It had a little filter brown at the top. And when you sucked on it, the end of it glowed a little bit red, as if it was a cigarette. And when you puffed out, a little something in front of your mouth came out. And it was like a little puff of, hey, looked like vapor. So they called it vapor and vaping. Now they've added chemicals to make dense clouds of smoke, and they have competitions for the youth for how many smoke rings can you blow? Can you blow smoke things through smoke rings? And so it becomes a big fun thing for the youth, but it's dangerous and it's addictive. So it's no longer a vapor. It's actually what the scientists call, as I said, an aerosol containing hundreds of chemical compounds and toxins that can kill you, and nicotine. Now, why the flavors like in the Hubbly Bubblies? Do you know that around the world there are about, well, let me ask you this, because see if you have a wild guess. How many flavors are there in electronic nicotine delivery systems, as we call them, electronic devices? Have a guess, Mariam.
Rough guess, I'll probably say 1,000.
Ooh, okay. People often say to me 20, 50, 100, yeah, 200. That's a remarkable guess to say 1,000. People don't go that high. Well done. Let me tell you what the number is. Around the world, about 16,000.
What?
In South Africa, yes. Crazy, isn't it? In South Africa, we have about 6,000 or 7,000 different flavors. Cherry, candy floss. Think of a flavor, and they've got it in electronic devices. And it's very attractive to children and the young people. You 10 years old, 12 years old. You know that in Riverlea some years ago, the Medical Research Council was doing research, and they found the youngest, 2 years old, smoking hookah with the encouragement of parents and sisters and brothers. Crazy. They found 7, 8-year-old children who could not go to school before they had sucked on their hookah pipe. Now, it's exactly the same as vaping. It's the nicotine fix that they need. So they couldn't go to school without feeding their body and their brain and their addictive needs and demands, because it's more than a need. Your body demands its nicotine. So they had to suck on their hookah pipe, and now they're sucking on electronic devices to get their nicotine fix before they go to school. It's tragic. And the flavors that have developed are very enticing for children to encourage them to use those devices. And then what happens? Eventually, they find they need more and more nicotine. The devices don't deliver enough nicotine to your system. You're demanding the drug. And then they change to combustible tobacco products like cigarettes. It's a tragedy. And, may I add this, because you know that smoking and tobacco use is haram. Why do we do it? We shouldn't do it. Just crazy.
It's so crazy. I mean, I have a 2-year-old now thinking that my 2-year-old smoking hookah pipe or vaping as I know I can't do that. I can't even stand being in a room of cigarette smoke and someone who's vaping and stuff. It's just too much for me. But now moving forward, what can be done and how can TAG help people who want to continue keeping the what was it? Their sober ways, who want to continue with
the
the
and
good
alcohol-free way.
habits.
Well, a lot of people talk about willpower. And you have to have willpower in order to stop smoking. You have to have willpower in order to stop drinking. We talk less about willpower. It's not willpower. We talk about want power. If you really want to do something, you will find a way and the strength to do it. So it starts with a decision. It's as simple as that. You make a decision. For all the reasons that you know, smoking is bad for you, not smoking is good. You get in a room or a place where there have been smokers, it doesn't smell nice. When you smoke, your clothing doesn't smell nice. It hangs on your skin and in your clothes and on your hands. And then what happens? Many parents say to me, but I don't smoke in my house, I go outside. And then what happens? The smoke, even if you're outside, and the poisons hang on your hair, if you have hair, and on your skin and on your clothes. And then you come and you pick up your little 2-year-old, which you pick up the 2-year-old, you put him against your shoulders, oh, darling, oh, I love you. And as you put him against your clothes, what we now call third-hand smoke comes off the clothes and off your skin and out of your hair, and the infant breathes that in. So what you're doing is you're poisoning your child as well. Take all those things into consideration, and an intelligent thinking person is going to say, you know what? I understand all of these things, and I now want to quit smoking. Now we know that it's not easy always because of the addiction to nicotine. But once you say, I want to quit, and you make the decision, I quit, not I'm trying. Trying doesn't work, because trying presupposes that you give yourself permission to fail. And if I may explain that. If you are trying to do something and you don't succeed, you say, well, you know what, that's not a problem. I'll try again on my birthday. And if I don't succeed then on my birthday, it doesn't matter. You know what I'll do is I'll try New Year. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about Ramadan and the New Year, or you're talking about the calendar that we use, New Year on the 1st of January. There's always another date that you can set to say, I didn't succeed this time, I'll do another date and I'll try again. So trying doesn't really work. You've actually got to do it. So you make the decision, I quit. I'm now a non-smoker. I quit. I'm now a non-drinker. Not I'm in the process of trying to quit. I quit. Done deal. Finished. And then you stay that way and never take another drink and never take another puff of anything, not electronic devices, not cigarettes. And if a friend of yours says to you, I'm going outside for a smoke, you want to come with me? You just say, what? I'm a non-smoker. You know that. I told you I quit. I'm a non-smoker. And if you have that attitude, it becomes much, much easier. It's not like, oh, I'm trying to quit. Should I? Shouldn't I? Can I go outside? No, it's too tempting. You know what? I'll go. You make the decision. No, I'm a non-smoker. Tell your friends, I'm a non-smoker. Please don't offer me cigarettes if you're going out to smoke. So that's one of the ways. There are many ways. If you get a craving, we talk about the 5 Ds, like drink water. You get a craving, go and drink a glass of water. That does several things. First of all, it rinses out the system and you give yourself some fluids. And it also goes to the other D, which is distract yourself by doing something different. So by that we mean is, let's say you're sitting at your desk doing a little bit of work and you're working on your laptop and you think, I feel like a cigarette. Then you can say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to go outside and prune the roses. Or I'm going to quickly make myself a cup of tea. So in the process of getting up and going to the kitchen, putting water in the kettle, switching on the kettle, getting a cup out of the cupboard, you're now doing something else. And that distracts you from the thought of smoking. And here's the truth. Why have you to distract yourself is another D. And that other D is delay taking the cigarette. So you get the craving and you think, you know what, I'm not going to smoke. I'll reconsider in 2 minutes. I'm not going to smoke now. I'm just going to delay taking the cigarette. And in those 2 minutes, the craving goes away. It never lasts forever. You know that if you're on a flight going to Durban, and if you're a pack-a-day smoker or something, you're going to be smoking a cigarette every half an hour or every hour. So you get on the plane and you feel like a cigarette, but you know that you can't smoke. Now what happens? You don't smoke and the craving goes away. That feeling that you want to smoke, and it goes away. So you distract yourself, you do something different, you delay the decision to smoke, you drink some water, and the craving goes away. Here's the magic. Eventually,
Peter, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off there. I mean, time is not on our side, but quickly give us contact details for TAG. Perhaps there are people who might need.
Well, I can't give you the contact details for TAG because right now during COVID, what I can tell you, and is if you're a smoker, on the back of your pack of cigarettes is a phone number. That's the national quit line of the Department of Health. It's required to be there by law. It's 011-720-3145. But it depends, and they should help you. You can also call the Heart and Stroke Foundation. They have a quit line service. Cancer, C-A-N-S-A, Cancer South Africa. Call them. They have a toll-free number, which is a quit line service, and they will help you. I'm happy to give you my mobile number. You can announce it as well if people want to help me, but just make the decision to quit smoking. It's as simple as that. And if you want me to come back, I'll come back and we can talk some more about exactly that.
Yes, definitely. I think we should, because I mean, there's lots more to talk about than what meets that way. I mean, we don't know, but it's best if we get the education, and perhaps that will also encourage more people to quit smoking, because we know about the dangers of smoking, but we just go ahead and do it. And those of us who have family members who smoke, I mean, we just let them smoke in front of us, in front of our kids.
Well, we shouldn't let them do that because it's dangerous to children. But I did say at some time that quitting can be hard. We know it's hard because nicotine's addictive. But can I stop with or end with some very, very good news? Of all the people that I've helped stop smoking over the last 20 or 30 years, no one has ever said to me that it wasn't worth it. People have said to me, Peter, I struggled. Oh, it was so hard. But there's always this but at the end. It was worth it. I can taste my food. I can smell the flowers. I feel more healthy. I breathe easier. And you save money. If you're a pack a day smoker, do this arithmetic quickly. It's about 35 to 40 Rand a pack of cigarettes. And I'm not talking about the illegal trade under our pandemic and the ban on the sale of cigarettes. About 30 Rand to 40 Rand a pack. Multiply that by 30 days. You're talking about 1,000 Rand a month that you waste on cigarettes. Take that money, save it every month, and in 12 months' time, you got 12,000 Rand. You can go on an overseas holiday. So thank you very much. I did say you're short of time. I'm going to ask you one question before you go, and then I'll say goodbye, and I'll happily come back whenever you want me. What is your son's name?
My daughter, her name is Akila.
Akila. Oh, that's wonderful. Aquilla.
Aqueelah.
Okay. Akila. Thank you. Lovely name. Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And if anybody wants help, they can get my number from you and from the studio, and I'm happy to help them stop smoking. Make the decision to quit. Very simple. And for your children, let them use the slogan, I'm too smart to start.
Right. So thank you so much for your time, Peter, and have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Peter Uko from TAG. Well, as you've seen the research, 16 and 15% of smokers have stopped smoking during the lockdown, and you too can be amongst those numbers, those increasing numbers, because there will be more people who will be continuing to stop smoking during this lockdown as the ban still stands. That brings us to the end of our show for today. If you have any more questions, queries, suggestions, you can send them to our WhatsApp line on 061 766 0355. Alternatively, you can leave the comments on Facebook, and we will gladly get Peter to answer them for you, and maybe have a part 2 of the show where he can offer some more advice. As you've heard, he has a lot more to say and to tell us about smoking, its harms, as well as alcohol and gambling. So thank you for joining me today, and thank you once again for choosing Salam Media as your broadcast of choice. And it's a pleasure to always be here. And do stay tuned. Do join me tomorrow from 11 to 1 p.m. right here at Salam Media, where I'll be having a lot more interesting guests and conversations that will be had. But for now, from myself, Mari Mukunda, and the Salam Media team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you.